Welcome back for part 3. In this video, I will be making the engine block. I will start by cutting out the air channels and tube attachment parts for the side of the engine blocks. I had a bit of trouble cutting these parts out and didn't notice I had the blade upside down until the second set. They still turned out fine, however. Now that I have these cut off, I'll basically go over the holes in the engine blocks, like so. This will control the air feed. This will be the air that's being switched on and off coming out this side. The panels that will go like this. That'll then be attached to the opposing side's top of the engine block. And for those attachments, I'm going to use this tube here. And the tube will go, that vinyl tubing will go on a 1/8 brass tube. For this I just marked off the lengths I need. And I'm going to cut it freehand with a grinding disc by clipping it in a vise on the tape. What's nice about that is as you cut each piece off, it doesn't fall and roll away on you. So I cut through it with a grinding disc on my rotary tool. I'm just gonna get it out of the tape. I need to put a new blade on here. Just cut one side and roll them out. I let it cool a couple seconds. It can be hot. And I'll basically glue them in the holes. Here are a couple before and after shots. Next I'll make the piece for attaching the air feed to the top of the cylinders. Pieces we just cut out and drilled out will be the drive portion to drive the pistons up and down. These also will have little brass tubes mounted in them. Okay. The way the piston cylinders are going to assemble is on the top we have the piece we made here. That's going to drive the piston. On this side we have the air out that drives the opposing set of cylinders on this side. So tubes will go up to the other side and vice versa. Then attached on this side would be the negative or positive, the vacuum or air pressure. The little channel that splits them between here. So that'll go on here to feed the engine. So at this point I'm going to take and glue this up. Here we have the two engine block halves mostly assembled. Various covers we made in the last segment here, all glued together. I've cut out a couple more pieces. These are from 1/8 inch birch plywood. We got a couple 1/16 of an inch, it's just basswood or whatever, some hobby board that you can get. Those are going to get glued on opposing sides of the engine because of the way I'm making the crankshaft it has to be offset slightly from each other so they don't kind of bind on the connecting rods. Once those are attached, and the blocks will actually get glued onto here, like so. Kind of hard to hold this. That'll go on like that. Those will kind of glue up like that. There'll be a front and a back. That'll be basically a finished engine block held together like so. Then extending down from that will be a couple brass pieces that I'm going to cut out. All this has been cut out on the scroll saw, and that's what will hold the crankshaft. So I'm going to paint these, glue it all up, see how it turns out. Okay, here's the engine block. These are the brass supports that are going to hold the crankshaft. I've glued it all together on the sides. Went with a green for the paint on this. Actually was thinking yellow, but didn't really have that color. So here's what the brass piece looks like after I cut it out on the scroll saw. And we just screw it on the tab, keeps it straight. I may have to use a square to adjust that a little bit more. A little grinding on the sides to make it line up perfect with the other side. So this is the essential structure. That will be the engine block. On the inside, we'll be adding tubes. I haven't really tried this part yet. We'll just put a couple on here. I'm going to crisscross in that manner. You can see I have a spacer on opposing sides to offset the engine blocks from each other. That's, as I stated earlier, that has to do with the crankshaft, so that the connecting rods don't have the same paths. So the tubes will go like that. So I'm going to put my screw on. I'll put the other tubes on and take another shot. Alright, here's what it looks like with the tubes on. With this, as with all my air engines at this point, the pistons work in pairs. So this piston is paired with this piston. So these two fellas have to be 90 degrees out of phase, which means they can be attached to the same point on the crankshaft, because it's a 90 degree angle that my V is at, which is pretty cool. So thanks for watching this segment. The next segment, I'll be working on building the crankshaft. I haven't really decided how I'm going to do that yet, so that should be interesting.